40% of the organization is churning out, you always have a talent pipeline, overflowing in this. So this is one another way. And third will be very strong the management training and the engineer training school, where they will go to premier institutes and then hire top talent and then bring on. So in that as well there will be a lot of investment. So this is the way we address it. So just to give a flavor of it, when I worked around, this was some time back, summer internship, the stipend was 85,000 rupees. So, but the internship would go to IIMs, the Jamnalal Bajaj, and to these graduate management levels. And that high, so there's another way of managing. You have growing within your organization. So,
honestly, the talent pool inside, does it cost, essentially, if I understand that it costs lesser than compared to keeping on raising your salaries?
Yes, because one is that you are grooming them in-house and preparing them the way you want it. And therefore you have a better visibility and also the capability. So the company has also a very strong capability in the setups. They have sales capability, they have supply chain management capability, they have the quality capability, they have marketing capability. So these capabilities they operate in the companies. And that helps them to. They also have a very, very robust bench strength policies. So they have identified say 10 different roles which are strategic to the organization and key to growing for next 3 years. Then the bench is already created. And actually I joined them as a bench. And went on to transition into the leadership role.
I can share with you some of my experiences. Okay.
I had more of a thought. I still find it very hard to believe that a company with such hefty margins, with a strong brand, can continue being a market leader without any competition practices, etc. And I think in the whole process, there's a local company by the name of Manpasand Beverages, which is entering into the same space recently did an IPO at a lower price product. And it would be interesting to just see how they are now starting to spread their distribution in certain states and stuff, and just see how Coke looks into a competition like this, which is offering a competitive product at a lower price point. Because being a bigger, older player, you have certain limitations which makes it hard to make this small.
So, would you like me to add to this?
Yeah, if you really want to.
That's true. So, obviously, they have been facing this competition. And it's not only one. So, just to why we do not understand this business very well in my view, or how they handle all this. See, if I ask you a question that tell me the largest juice brand that is selling in India. Real, right? And we forget Maaza. Maaza has got 17.5% market share. Maaza is the single largest juice selling, and it is Coca-Cola. So this is how. So the competition is like, if I say he's a Kodak or he's a Sony or a Canon camera in competition among themselves, perhaps no. I say a Vivo phone is a competition to them. So first of all, to know who the competition is, that itself is going to take the competition to take. So then these are the strengths actually. That helps. And then the juice market is growing. So true, of course. But what I see is they've been growing in double digit. Of course, I have a hard press for time. But they were growing in double digit. Now they are growing in single digit.
6:30.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he needs to leave. 6:30. Fine, thank you very much.
Yeah, pleasure.
enjoyed your intervention.
Thank you so much. Comfortable interacting with all of you. And quite a few interesting questions are. Thanks, and I hope to see you again. Thanks, Vivek. Yeah, if you have any queries, maybe my phone number is there with Megha. Do connect with me and I could chat with you again.
Thank you.
See you. Yeah. You have to
Bye.
be-
I will take you 40 years of HR in terms of retention. I used to run a company which I just recently sold 5 years ago. And I was surprised when I asked those people even now. I had about 40% of my employees being first employee, they retired when I retired. So there must have been some jadoo as to how retention took place. And we were not overpaying, we were not Coca-Cola, we were a Desi brand, we were a Desi company, a vegetarian company, a lot of things were done in-house. But I'll tell you stories when I started this factory in Alon backward area. That time 2 rupees was the basic pay per day worker. Then suddenly we understood that PF is applicable, so PF was made applicable, then suddenly ESIC became applicable, gratuity became applicable, and then something called minimum wages started. And then there were exemptions for minimum wages for chemical units or hazardous units, and it was only applicable to textile units or mechanical. So the laws kept on changing, and we had to evolve a HR payment policy as to keep in tune with the law and at the same time keep the employee happy. So the stage came where he would be drawing with us at 300 rupees a month, but 700 rupees a month would have been his perks. Right? Then government got wise and started saying that all perks are to be taxed. Or HRA also comes under PF and this comes under PF, ESIC. So the concept of CTC came up. Then the concept in CTC came up. Then the junior man, new entrant wants more money because he's more educated, and the old kaka who's there says that aise kaise. So the concept of fixed pay, variable pay came up. So you have to change again, to keep everyone happy. Today I find that there is fixed pay, variable pay, and something of a retention pay. You work for 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, then you get a key man policy, you get gratuity, superannuation, and maybe even ESOPs. So there were in late 90s the word ESOP was framed, and then suddenly government felt that what is this ESOP, it should also come under tax. So capital gain tax was levied onto ESOPs. Otherwise, people went away with murder with ESOPs. Today, I have friends in HDFC Bank who can claim कि 20 crore रुपए का माल है सब. At today's prices, why? Because he was given ESOPs, he joined this company. So if you keep changing your policies, keeping in line with the tax and the employee need, I don't think most employees want to leave and run away or go to another company. If you do a statistical study, the difference between what you're giving him and what he is going to get away is maybe 500,000 rupees a month extra. But you tell them personally कि क्यों छोड़ रहा है? He says उधर prospect जाता है. नहीं उधर boss was my ex-employee, so he is calling me. Here गाली सुनने में आता है. इधर बाथरूम साफ नहीं है. इधर एयर कंडीशनिंग कभी चलता है नहीं चलता है. कभी सेट हमारी बात ही नहीं मानता है. इतना अच्छा सजेशन दिया वो तुमको नीचे दिखा के I am frustrated, I am leaving. So it is always not for money. So if you talk to them at least twice in a year, very personally and privately, saying that what is it that you want and what is it that I want. You tell him what you want, and give him what he wants, he will stay with you for life. I don't think retention is a big problem.
One context
desperately want something that you don't have. So, say for example, someone wants to work in a big brand. Someone wants to work with Coca-Cola. Someone wants the pedigree of a.
If you see the slide before this one, where if you connect with him and tell him that this, you are shifting to a big brand which you have not created, I will give you the opportunity to create that big brand in this company. And if that big brand will come about just because of you. So who wants to be a follower and who wants to be a leader? Here you can lead, there you will be a follower. So there are a lot of counselings which can be done. And I don't think it is very difficult to counsel a person. But don't bullshit it. Genuinely understand what he needs and tell him what you want.
I just point out a very interesting analysis. This is a discussion between me and my wife. One day we were sitting and she was haggling with on the pay of the maid who was working. And then I was just doing a mathematical analysis. I said, how much we spend on vacation? So typically, if you see per day, vacation cost is somewhere around 50,000 to 60,000. So I was telling her that if you sacrifice your 4 days vacation or 5 days vacation, which was back in 2000, you can increase that much delta and you pay all your servants extra, whoever are the good people. And I said, you are in 365 days in vacation. So I said, the delta is so good. So you are strategically out-maneuvering all your competitors around who are coaching, good servant. They are just 1.3. If your neighbor is paying X, you pay 1.3 if you like that person. So I think the corporate rule tells you that if you like the person and if you believe that he is adding value, I would say 1.2, 1.3 X of his market value, if you pay him, you are secure. And the kind of comfort factor at the top level it generates could be so tremendous if you are creative, if you are believing that you can create value, if you are given that comfort factor, you should spend that money according to me. And you should cut somewhere else, don't buy a BMW. And I think that interest cost of BMW, the depreciation cost of BMW will pay for all that incremental money which you pay. But the kind of comfort you get out of BMW and the kind of comfort you are having those 5 guys on your organization would be just tremendous. And this building a context here that how strategically you will have to think in your own business. I think let's move on to this barrier, this thing. See, remaining in a blue ocean, I think it's all about now building barriers. We sort of gone through a process where we can identify gaps, we can ask the right kind of questions. But at the end of the day, everything must lead to a barrier creation in your business. And as we always have been talking about, disruptive things are there. To me, the biggest barrier of Coca-Cola losing its business is as long as a human being needs to drink, they are in business. The day a baby is born, he does not need to drink, their business is at top. So unless you have a disruptive technology that the humans will not need to drink, their business is forever, literally. So every person must ask this question, that is my business, the critical need of life. And I think they are.
One of the questions I had actually before was that if you look at Coca-Cola and actually start seeing that how much revenue and profit really comes from Coca-Cola rather than all the other products, what is that makeup? I mean, has that business of selling Coca-Cola really made them money over the years consistently and it's the top selling, top money making product, or is it that the diversification is what is keeping them afloat? Is it the revenue from all the other products that is really keeping them afloat? So is the competency really that formula, or is the competency the fact that they can acquire good food making businesses and place them properly, manufacture them cleanly, manage that? What is their
75% profit comes from Coca-Cola. because it's just, see, where they have really succeeded. They used to make huge amount of money in the United States. They make huge amount of money in Europe today. They really are not making enough money in the developing world. As the developing economy will grow, they will start making money. So they are balancing their. So my thinking and insight in the Coca-Cola case is that at the core, in the high-end market, they mark up where the ability of the customer to pay is there, they pick it up, and they burn their money on the periphery, where the low markets are. So I think they basically have avoided competition to come in the lower end and emerge strong, and they are killing them there. Whereas in the core, it's almost impossible for somebody to go and set up any operation there because there are too many barriers to get into that kind of a market. So this has been their general strategy, like what he says, that 12 years they burned money. So it is that continuous burning money is what is like a shield which they are employing for them to happen, number one. Number two, I think the excellence is actually in their product. People genuinely enjoy drinking Coke. That's what my general assessment. And that's why they are surviving. It can't be just branding. It's the experience of the product itself. But the product is required. And they are sort of helping to change the attitude to drink. So that as they said, they are going to the core. The drink means chai also can be their competition. They are looking at everything, how to position it.
So, at one point in time, there was a gentleman called Robert Oak who said, as CEO or something of Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Turkish guy.
Yeah, and he was a chemical engineer. And he was the first one who asked this question to the marketing people, that what is the share of market share that Coca-Cola has? So the people answered in several different figures, like 5%, 10%, 20%, 100%. Then he asked the question that the market that I'm addressing is of all drinkable liquid that human beings drink, which includes water, coffee, or maybe alcoholic drinks as well. And then the percentages got changed to 0.002%, 0.005%. And then he said that, look, where we are and where we need to get. So whatever little I know, I believe that the whole thought process changed with him. I don't remember the year, but since then, the drive in his family has changed a lot. But interesting stuff.
I believe it was 1994 he came on board. And then Coca-Cola never looked back. Really generated a lot of it. But yeah, at a strategic level, how to see the secondary curve, tertiary curve markets, and you can expand into that. And you may realize that those markets are too large. Now maybe at some point of time you may not be able to create all those value propositions. But like they have done right from water to juices to this, so they are also putting blocks everywhere. So anytime any segment starts picking up growth, they already have a system in place, in-house, to expand because they have the leverage of money. So strategically, every company will have to sort of go and invest and keep themselves covered with respect to the entire methodology of doing a business and keep it perfect. Now when to grow, how much to grow, that's a strategic decision based on where is the market expanding and where it is not. Right? Everybody who is looking at the blue ocean market from that perspective should see. So, my again feeling is what Coca-Cola has done is, if you really look at it, they differentiated the taste. I don't think very few companies actually simulated the taste exactly. They spent a lot of money on refrigerating the right temperature. So if you see, Coca-Cola managed to get refrigeration across the board everywhere properly. They provide actually a refrigeration machine to the vendor which carries Coke. So they are very particular on that and what temperature Coca-Cola will be removed out of that, cold this thing. The second would be the low cost. One thing I can share with you, I used to work for PPG and we used to make coating for the can. And our coating cost was analyzed to the extent of 1/100th of a penny, and they would not make any movement on that. 1/100th of a penny. That was the level of tightness which we had. And this is not on a per can.